Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today I'm doing a very special new original tag that was created by my friends Reney at Beyond Books and Daniela at Uncommon Reader, and this is the Spring is in the Air, or at least on the calendar. Spring is in the Air, a new original tag for the arrival of spring. So Reney and Daniela said in the introductions to their videos, we look forward to warmer days ahead as well as hearing your answers to the prompts. So I wanted to do this one right away while we are still welcoming in spring. Number 1, Spring Chicks. Name a book that made you feel warm and fuzzy. Well, this is a book I've talked about a great deal over the last few months, and that's Ronan Hession's novel, Leonard and Hungry Paul. This is a true feel-good novel. It made me feel warm and fuzzy. My book group discussed it about a week ago, and we universally loved this book. This is a book about the good guys, where the good guys win, and it made me feel warm and fuzzy. Number 2, April Showers or Spring Showers, a book that is set near, in, or on the water, or that has the word water in the title. Well, I have one that has the word water in the title, and this is Andrea Camilleri's The Shape of Water, and this is the first in the series. In a series, this is the first Inspector Montalbano mystery. And the second one is the book that my book group is reading right now, and that is The Frozen River, which takes place very near a river. And right at the beginning of the book is a map of the river. Number 3, Spring Break. Talk about a time you took a break from reading and why. I can't really think of any times that I took a break from reading, but I definitely had 2 times in my life when reading was very difficult for me. The first time was about 25 years ago when I was diagnosed with a pretty serious, it was a serious medical condition, and it had side effects on my eyes. And my 2 eyes stopped working together, and it made reading unbelievably difficult. And I was, still in the midst of my teaching career and basically reading plays and novels and poetry and reading students writing about all of those things for a living. And it was very, very hard to read because I had persistent double vision and a whole bunch of other eye complications. So that was one time. And the other is a time that I've talked about on the channel before, and that was when I first retired, and I found it very difficult to focus on reading because I just couldn't stop conversations going on in my head, and I was beyond distracted. And what got me out of that was my sort of discovery of audio books. And I found that if I listened to a novel as I read the text, I suddenly could read again. And I believe that that discovery of audiobooks saved my reading life at a very critical point in my life. Number 4, Swallows Homecoming, a book or an author you always go back to for comfort. And that is someone I've talked about many times on the channel. I just keep showing different novels, and that's Louise Penny and her Three Pines series, the Chief Inspector Gamache series, which takes place in a little village called Three Pines in Canada. And while these are not what I would call cozy mysteries exactly, the place where they take place, this fictional village of Three Pines, is a cozy place. And this is certainly a place that I go back to for comfort frequently. Number 5, Blooms, a book that started slowly but blossomed to be one of your favorite reads. For that, I'm going to go with David Copperfield, Charles Dickens, David Copperfield. And I'm going back and forth with this book. This might be becoming my favorite Dickens novel. I always thought that my favorite Dickens novel was Bleak House, but I am also in love with David Copperfield, and I think that this might be in the number 1 spot. I'm not sure, but it is a book that I don't think I loved in the beginning, and I grew to love it, and it has truly grown on me over the years, so that it really is one of my favorite Dickens. It might be my favorite Dickens novel. Okay, number 6, Eggs in a Basket. 3 books you want to read this spring. Well, I am going to be reading for people April, the group read, which is Chloe Dalton's memoir, Raising Hair. So this is one. I am also reading with the New Futurian Fellowship, and this is also a buddy read with Lectin from Reading from the Depths, and that's Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time. And I'm also reading with a group of people starting in April, and I think we're going through to June, and that's James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake. So those are 3 spring reads that are coming up very soon. We're going to be starting all 3 of these in April. Number 7, Green Pastures, a classic that never gets old. That's going to be Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. Of all of her novels, this is the one I've probably read the most because I taught it. And so, I read it every year when I was teaching it. And I've been reading it since I was a teenager. So this is a classic that, to me anyway, just gets better with age, with its age and my age, and with rereading, and it certainly never gets old. Okay. Number 8, Pollen, a book or author you're allergic to. Well, I don't know if allergic is the right word, but I committed for the Proust read along, and they're reading In Search of Lost Time over the course of a year. I committed to volume 1. I committed to Swan's Way, and I completed Swan's Way. I read this, and I did not commit to the next 5 volumes. And I thought, unless something really amazing happens to me while I'm reading this, I'm not going to promise to read beyond volume 1. And I read volume 1. I'm glad I read volume 1, but I have no desire to read the rest of it now. I'm not saying never, I wouldn't say that I would never go back to Proust, but I felt I felt the whole time I was reading it that, maybe if I had come upon this when I was younger, I would have felt more, more inclined to persist. But at this point in my life, I felt a little like, I wanted to say, the emperor has no clothes on. And I know that that probably sounds like a silly and foolish thing to say about it, but I really felt like, this ship has sailed as far as I'm concerned. And I'm just not going to, I just don't think I'm going to see what is so incredible about this series of this 6 volumes that make up In Search of Lost Time. Maybe at a different time in my life it would have really wowed me, but it definitely didn't happen this time around. So while I wouldn't say I'm allergic, I think I've read enough of Proust to know that this is not my my cup of tea, I guess. And then they have a bonus question, and this is called Equinox. Find 2 books on your shelf that have the exact same number of pages and talk briefly about them. Well, I couldn't do this. I tried. I looked at least 20 different books on shelves, and I couldn't find 2 books that had the exact same number of pages. And I don't keep my reading records in anything like Storygraph or anywhere where the page numbers would be designated. I keep my own private reading journal, and I don't keep track of the number of pages. So it wasn't easy for me to just look up, 2 books that have the same number of pages. And I started taking books off my shelves. And after I looked at least 20, maybe 25 books, and I couldn't find 2 that had the same page numbers, I thought that Reney and Daniela would forgive me if I just, said I'm afraid I couldn't do I have failed at the bonus question, but it's not like I didn't try. I certainly gave it the good old try. So and then the final prompt, of course, is to tag others. If you're watching this, if you'd like to jump into this Spring is in the Air tag, I hope you will consider yourself tagged. But I am going to, as I always do, I'm going to tag some others in the notes below. And I hope that a whole bunch of people will decide to do this tag as well. This is really fun, and who doesn't love getting in the mood for spring? We need some spring. So, as always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.